Welcome to the Property Management Success Podcast, where we interview leaders in the industry to uncover the secrets to profitability, efficiency, and achieving true freedom, whether it's your time, money, or lifestyle. I'm your host, Tony Klein, and I'm here to help you build a wildly successful property management business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Success Podcast.
Let's
Mark
go.
Brower, the
Let's
co-host,
freaking go, Tony.
the extraordinaire. Let's hit it. Mark, we were talking last time we were together. We talked a little bit about you and your new journey into starting to do some coaching. And you have a few people who have been fortunate enough to find time on your schedule. And we can talk about what that looks like. But I want to dig into that and just hear a little bit more about it.
Sure. Can I be completely random and off script for a moment first, though?
I don't think we've ever been on script, so
I have a new addition to my office. Check that out.
Yeah, I see it, but I can't see. It's a trail runner. All right, who's that with you?
So that's me and my pacer, and that is mile 56 of 61 at Javelina 100, 2022. That was my redemption race. That was the race that I came back from the dead 2 years prior after just almost DNFing, did not finish, lying in that medic tent for an hour and 15 minutes. And then I really sort of dedicated, I am going to master this race. I am going to do this thing. And I took 2 years and read a lot of stuff, did a lot of coaching, ran a lot of practice races, changed my thinking, changed what I measured, changed what I ate, changed how I trained, changed so many little experiments, and went back 2 years later, knocked an hour and a half off of my time, finished top 15 race overall, came in right behind Billy Yang.
Nice.
I know you know who that is.
I know Billy. Yeah, good documentaries.
Yeah, and so that was the moment in the race when I knew I've only got 5 miles left. I know I've got this.
Nice.
And it was the greatest feeling. What are we talking about now? So let's transition. Okay.
All right.
So that was a result of great coaching. That was a result of me being at the lowest of lows 2 years prior in a medic tent, flat on my back for an hour and 15 minutes, whining to my pacer, I'm done with this race. I can't finish. I can't do this. I'm miserable. I'm no good to anybody if I go out on that trail in the dark of night and curl up in the fetal position a mile down the trail, and I can't move. I'm done now. I'm in the medic tent now. Put me in a vehicle and drive me in. And that was so soul crushing because I had just told all my ultra running buddies that I was going to finish that race if it meant I had to crawl the entire 61 miles, 62 miles. And so, wow. So coaching is what saved me. My coach texted my pacer after an hour and 15 minutes after he was doing everything he could to get me off that cot, and he said, tell Mark to get up and walk it in, 9 words. And they changed my life because I believed that my coach knew something that I didn't know. I borrowed confidence and strength from him in that most critical moment, and I dared to sit up. I dared to stand up. I felt like I was going to vomit every step. I shuffled out of that tent. I shuffled out into the dark night, pissed off, defeated, in pain, super tired, hating everything. And the most magical thing happened. A half mile later, I felt like I could dare to jog. Half mile later, I dared to jog a little faster. Half mile later, I was actually running, and I rallied, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I rallied and I ran the last 8 miles of that race faster than I'd run all day long. And that changed my life forever, because now, forever, if I'm ever in that situation of the lowest of lows, I know that I can stand up, and I know that I can put one foot in front of the other. Even if it only moves me 6 inches, I know that the daring to do the inconceivably small thing that changes everything at a massive scale is that's the whole thing. And so if it hadn't been for a coach, I wouldn't have been able to do that night.
All right, so I want to tie these two things together. So I have a couple of things in my mind. So the first thing is there's something in the ultra community. They talk about motion is medicine. So sitting there at the aid station, complaining, sitting in the chair, everything's miserable. I'm drowning in my misery. And just like your coach, I've had calls and texts from my coach out on the trail and races, and they're just like, get in motion. It's hard to steer a parked car, but if we can get you in motion, we can figure this out. So there's the cute little saying, motion is medicine, but in absence of knowing what motion to take or what direction to go, it's kind of a half empty, like it'll get you going, but it's not going to get you there. It's not going to get you where you want to go. So it's not just about getting in motion, but having the right direction and having somebody that can help you in those dark moments say, okay, you're in a spot. I've been in that spot. Plenty of other people have been in that spot. And here's how they get out of that spot. So let's now take the right steps in the right direction to get you to that finish line so that you don't have that regret of DNFing, which, Mark, go ahead. What's DNF?
Did not finish.
Yeah. How many DNFs have you had in a race? What? You've had 0 DNF?
0.0.
You're not challenging yourself. It's like I could finish all my 5Ks too, bro.
I don't quit, Tony. I don't.
Yeah. I'll tell you the first 100-mile run that I ever attempted, I got to the 68-mile aid station. I had actually gone 71 miles because I had gotten lost in the rain, and it was during the witching hour. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was with somebody else. This is why it makes so much of a difference of who you align yourself with. I was with another runner. I had been running a good part of the race with them, not intentionally, but we just kind of connected, and he fell. And he had been talking about wanting to quit for a while. So I'd already had that in my head. And he gets to a point where we're coming down this hill. The trail is sloppy and muddy coming down the hill, but we're also traversing across the mountain. So everything's at an angle. So you take 2-3 steps and you have to kind of climb up the mountain, and in 2 or 3 steps slide you down. And he fell and he checked out. So we get to the aid station, and he decides, I'm going to go into the medic tent, which wasn't a tent at this one. It was a trailer. It was a heated trailer. So I sit outside. The rain is blowing sideways, and I start to get cold. And I should have just gone up and left. I had my own goals. He was quitting, but I made the mental decision to quit. You had to sign a form saying you were dropping out. You had to give him your bib.
Oh.
And
This is at Big Bear?
The Bear 100, yeah.
The Bear 100. I always say the name wrong. The Bear 100.
So at that time and for that next year, it was devastating because you go and an hour later, you're like, I'm fine. I had plenty of time to finish. I just let my head trash get the best of me. And so for that next year, everything I did, I trained to go back and have that redemption.
And you did it.
I was able to
I remember.
finish.
That's when I met you. I met you after you had DNF'd and you were going back. Yeah. Yep. And you called me out on the starting line of the 5K and say, let me choose the race distance and I'll beat anyone here. Like, those are fight words.
You were talking about how
those
fast
are fight
you were.
Words.
You were talking a little bit about how fast you were.
I came in really humble. I didn't say anything to anybody. I was just going to blow everybody away.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the point. The point
back on script that we don't actually have. Let's do it.
Let's get back on the script you handed me before we started recording. So there's this power in coaching. There's this power in not hanging around quitters, apparently from your story. And motion is medicine. What other? You said you had a couple points that you wanted to reflect when I was sharing my story. Motion is medicine. Was there another one?
Yeah, the motion is medicine. So it's taking action, but also getting direction from the right people or being around the right people, right? And I won't say you shouldn't surround yourself with quitters because we're all struggling. We're all fighting battles in all different directions. And some of us have more willpower or staying power in different areas than others. And that's okay. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses. But the goal is, when the year I DNF'd at Bear taught me a lot. And I went back to Bear that next year and I ran that. And then 11 days later, I ran my first 200-mile race. So I ran the Bear 100.
Because that's smart. Yeah, that's really smart.
And then I ran the Moab 240. I do have a screenshot, actually, of you saying, if I finish the Bear 100, and finish the Moab 240, you will kiss my feet. I
Well,
have
I
yet to
said first my
collect.
head will explode and then I'll kiss your feet. And I didn't recover from my head exploding and I never kissed your feet. But
It's true.
that's beside the point because we need to do double or nothing. Like I'm waiting for me to be able to call you out and say, "Hey, I'm picking the distance. We're running a 50K, and if I beat you, there's no kissing feet."
All right, we'll do that just so you can get off the hook because I know you'll beat me in a 50K.
So I have a thought on this thread. When you're in pain, I once heard a really smart person say, if you treat people like they're going through something really significant, if you treat everybody like that, you'll be right more than 50% of the time. Like, there's a lot of pain in life. And one of the lessons I'm most grateful about that ultra running gave me, one of the gifts that ultra running gave me is to come to a new relationship with pain and to think about and take action in the face of pain in a different way than I had before. Super grateful, super powerful lesson. And one way that I could describe that change is that when you're in pain, you run to make your former self and your future self proud and happy. Because when you're in a lot of pain, you don't love yourself enough to do it for yourself in that moment. You're running for your future self and your past self. And as much as we say, hey, be present right now, that's true. But I also think that when you're in pain, in life, in business, on the trail, whatever it is, you have to find a higher calling and a higher purpose, and you have to do something outside of yourself. Because if you just respond to how you feel, you are not going to do the things you need to do. You're not going to do the things you need to do to move through that pain. You're not going to do the things you need to do to alleviate that pain. There's something important about detaching from the pain of the moment and making decisions based on a broader view of time that will make your future self happy. Like we just talked about, if I had DNF'd that night, it would have been very, very different. I would have learned from it, but it would have been my future self would have experienced a lot more pain over a longer period of time than my present self was experiencing in that medic tent in that moment. And so borrowing strength both from the past dreams that I've had and the future feelings of pride that I could have by being strong and doing the right thing now, there's something there.
I want to tie it back to the DNF that I had because I want to build on what you said. The DNF that I had, my very first 100-mile race, I had told everybody, and that's just one of the ways that I stay motivated is if I say I'm going to do something and I tell people, now I have to do it because I'm not going to look like an idiot where I'm going out and trying something and failing and looking like an idiot, but I'm not going to look like an idiot because I just don't try or I say I'm going to do something and I don't. So the fact that I went out there and did in my mind at the moment was my best. The next day I realized I gave up on myself. I think ultimately made me a better athlete and I think it makes me a better business person. And so when we're working with coaching people in business, it's almost we get better results with people who have had that failure, who have experienced some loss, who have tried big and failed big, than the people who are just afraid to try anything. The ones that stand on the side of the pool and talk about, well, what if the water's cold? Or what if it's too deep? Or what if it's like those people are hard to work with. But the ones that are, look, man, I jumped in the deep end and it was more than what I thought it was going to be. And I had to be rescued, but now I'm ready to let's figure this out. Let's do this right. They've had big dreams. They've had some level of failure, and those are the ones I think that are positioned to say, I've had these struggles. I am looking for somebody to get me from here to there because the pain of staying here, the pain of me realizing I had that DNF and that I chose to quit when just like you, there was plenty of time on the clock to walk it in but I chose to quit, that pain is way more painful than the nerve damage I still have in my leg from running Moab 11 days after running Bear.
Wow.
So, all right. So let's talk about I'm really interested. We talked about you getting into the coaching space,
Yes. So
and you have,
I'm sorry, I cut you off. I have an idea.
let's run with your idea.
Okay, so I got into the coaching space. I had two first coaching sessions with guys that reached out to me even without me really advertising that I'm doing business coaching, and they asked if I would be open to it, and I said yes. And one of the guys is he's going through a lot of pain right now. Like, it's significant. And I know most people listening to this, if they've done property management, they're a sole proprietor, or they bootstrapped the building of their own property management company, they know this place. It's a dark place. It's a heavy place. It's a painful place. It's a place where you are doing way too much. You don't have the help you need. You don't have the systems you need. You don't have the support. Things are not predictable. They're too chaotic. You might have said yes to the wrong clients. You might have just lost, a third or half of your staff. You've gotten sucked into the front lines, so you're not working on your business. So the actual underlying problem of fixing the business isn't getting any movement. The needle's not moving, and you're sucked into this vortex of working 70 hours a week or more, and it's not getting better fast enough. And the analogy that came to me as I was listening to him talk to me about this dark place that he's in, I thought of a mountain climber. So not a running analogy for a moment, but a mountain climber. If you guys watch Free Solo, that guy that scaled El Capitan with no ropes, Alex Honnold. There different climbing sections on the face of a mountain are called pitches. And there are some pitches that are so difficult and require so much strength, and there are no resting points, that if you don't move through them quickly enough, you will fall off the mountain. And so I think of this analogy and the importance of coaching. Sometimes people are stuck on the side of a mountain. They're stuck in the middle of a pitch that doesn't have a resting place. And if they don't move, if they don't get help, if someone doesn't help them move through that pitch, they're going to fall off. I've been there before. It's a scary place because you notice that your strength is waning, and you notice that you're not in a safe spot. And I think one of the most powerful things a business coach can do is help someone that's in that position move beyond it quickly before they fall.
What's hard about that is there's a saying in the ultra running community that it never always gets worse. And the first time I heard that, I was kind of in a pain cave out on the trail, and I had a pacer tell me that. And there were two good things about that. Number one, it was so hard for me to figure out what the heck he just said. Like, I didn't get it. It never always gets worse. I didn't get it. But so it took my mind off of the pain so I could kind of think through that. But the second thing, once I did get it, what you're talking about here is if you get through that fast enough, it gets better. And so the saying it never always gets worse means that if you have the right guidance and you're in a rough spot, it can get better.
And that goes back to your saying movement is medicine. We have to move, but sometimes we're so paralyzed, we don't know what move to make. And so a coach can say, put your hand there, put your foot there, press up. I'm going to pull a little bit on the rope. You need to move. You need to look at me. You need to focus. Yeah, but there's 15 different handholds I could reach for next. I need you to reach for that one. Trust me.
Yep.
I know there's 2 or 3 others that you could choose. Look at me. I need you to choose that one. Let's go. And that's part of the help that we need.
Okay, so let's take it from running and from mountain climbing to, let's bring it back to business. So what are some of the key insights that you either shared? I don't want you to share any identifiable information, but what are some of the insights that you got from these recent coaching experiences that you have, that you've either learned from it, that you learned from what people are needing, or that you were able to share and help somebody out with?
The most important thing that a business coach can do, in my opinion, is exactly what happened to me 75 minutes after sitting on that cot when my pacer read those words to me. Sorry, you said let's move this away from running. I'm not doing that. He said, tell Mark to get up and walk it in. And in that moment, it wasn't the words, it wasn't who said it, it was who it came from, and it was the transfer of confidence toward action. Tony, there's 100 different ways that most businesses can move forward. There's thousands of ways. There is no one path. There are a limited number of paths that maximize the unique gifts and talents of an individual applied to a problem to move forward, and a business coach can help identify those. A business coach doesn't help you find the one way. There's no such thing as the one way. But what a business coach can do, which is really powerful, is transfer a level of confidence, or allow you to borrow a level of confidence that you don't internalize right now, that gives you the willingness to move forward and move forward at the right speed. So that was my goal. It wasn't, some people say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. People remember how you say something. They don't remember what you say. Why am I saying words? But it's true. Having someone in your life that inspires you to greater confidence and action is as important as the strategy or the thoughts or the ideas they give you, if not more important. So that was an idea I was holding present in those initial discovery sessions. And it's why I told the guy, I am with you. This is not transactional for me. You're paying me. We're meeting twice a month, but you need me at any moment. Reach out, because I really feel that.
I think there's another component that maybe you'll address, but it's the accountability. As entrepreneurs, we have the ability to do whatever we want. And we typically do something until it gets about 60% hard. And then there's this new shiny thing that this looks like this is easier over here. So let me go chase that until it gets 60% hard. And then I can find something new to chase. And part of what you get from a coach is, let's develop a plan. And then I'm going to help you stick to that plan. I've got a client that every time we meet, they have a new idea that they want to pursue that changes the goal and the outcome. And they're usually like, how can we stack this on top of what we're already doing? And part of my job is ask them enough questions to help them discover that what they want to do is them trying to move away from pain of going through that hard part on the mountain, getting away from the pitch that they don't want to approach.
That's it. Yep.
And helping them move past that. And when we do that, they have breakthroughs, and then they're like, yes, you're right. That was a distraction. I was excited about it. I was intentional. I believed that was the right thing. But now that we've made it through sticking to what we said we were going to accomplish, you were right, and that was a distraction. And so I think that's something that we don't often talk about is, as entrepreneurs, we don't have an accountability or somebody to hold us accountable. And so that is definitely something that you get from having a good coach.
I know we're coming up on time soon. Quick reflection on what you said. It's not that we don't have the grit. It's not that we can't face the pain, the 65% painful or difficulty that we experience and then we switch to something else. It's that we sometimes, speaking for myself, sometimes we lack the conviction and the clarity to know that that's the thing that I should keep pressing into. I'm willing to confront the discomfort and the pain and the difficulty of committing to a path, but sometimes the relative ease of path B beckons to me and distracts me, because maybe it's not just easier, but it's also easier and will get me to success faster. And so I get distracted. And the accountability, the focus, this is why startup companies benefit greatly by having a board. You have a board of like 4 or 5 or 7 really smart, seasoned, mature business people with their own expertise and their own connections. Well, guess what? Small property management business owner, didn't have the luxury, didn't spend the time to put together a 5 to 7 person board, didn't feel like I was worthy of it, didn't feel like I had the money to compensate everybody, et cetera, et cetera. But having a business coach, okay, that's going to give me some of that same benefit of tethering me to the commitments I made to move the needle on the stuff and not get so dissuaded, not get so distracted. There's one more thing. Everybody knows that entrepreneurs have a problem with distractibility, and it's a blessing and a curse. The visionaries have visions. They just don't often understand that 50% of them are garbage for now. because they get so excited about their ideas, right? Yeah, maybe 10. You need that integrator person or the board or the coach or whoever else around you to say like, okay, well, that's a great idea. Park it, write it down. Don't forget it. Right now we're still doing this, remember? All right, let's do it.
So I want to tell you something. So I have a fear about this episode. So I want to share it with you. Is that all right?
You can share your fears with me, Tony.
All right. I'm afraid that this is going to come off like a commercial. And the reason
I'm not taking any new clients. Don't call me.
Well, I have an interview process where if you're looking for a coach, I'm happy to have those conversations. But um, the reason that bothers me is I believe so passionately that we all dream way too small and we are all capable of much bigger things than we believe we are. And I want people to listen to this episode, and I want them to take what we say at face value, whether they work with you or work with me or work with anybody else, the benefits of it. I want to like preach this to the world that you make so much more progress if you align yourselves with somebody that has done it before, that has been down the path. And I want to tie this to my last running story, and then I'll give you the last word on this. But last year, in October, I was supposed to go back to Moab once again. It's one of my favorite races, and I've learned the course pretty well. So I was supposed to go back and run the Moab 240 again. And that was in October. In early September, I tore my plantar fascia in my right foot, snapped it, felt like somebody took a branding iron and just stuck it to the bottom of my foot, and still had to get back to the trailhead. That made me sad and depressed that I had been working so hard to get back to that race. I felt like I was getting back into the shape to have a good performance. And so I had to kind of struggle through that. But when I finally decided, you know what, I still have all that knowledge of the course. I still have all the knowledge of what it takes to get out of the aid stations. I'm going to go volunteer. So I went and volunteered for 5 days, helped run a couple of different aid stations. And the fact that there were people that came into those aid stations defeated, where they would actually tell the person that was checking bib numbers, they're done, they quit. At mile 87, I had people say, I'm done. And they would come in and I'd see them. I could just pick them out. I could pick out the ones that were needed help and the ones that were doing okay. And when they would sit down in the chair, I'd just start talking to them. I'd get into their head a little bit, and I would say, what do you need? You know, here, the next stretch is fairly flat. And we'd start talking to them. They're like, well, I already quit. I said, well, if I could go and talk to the guy with the clipboard and the radio and get you to have him say that it was a mistake and get you to unquit, what would it take for you to be able to get out of this chair? And it's the same passion I have in business. I had probably 6 or 7 people that had already DNF'd, already quit, but because they didn't take off their tracker, because they didn't leave the aid station, we were able to get them back on the trail and keep going. And some of them only made it to the next aid station, but that's up to the next people to help them keep them going. Some of them, we were able to get them to go all the way to the finish. And I feel like I have that same passion in business, that there are times where people come in to an aid station or come into a section of their life where they need help. And so I hesitate. I hope this doesn't come off like a commercial for either one of us. I just hope it comes off that we're very passionate about helping people achieve the things that they're striving to achieve, because it's hard to do it on your own.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know you have plenty of business coming your way, and I've got plenty of stuff I'm working on. But man, it's so satisfying, so fulfilling on both ends to find the right person that can help you navigate this very difficult journey of entrepreneurship in residential property management. Like, we got some sadistic people, some masochistic people building businesses in this industry. But you know what? It's a wild ride. It's so crazy. It's really difficult, and it's often thankless. But the transformation that comes when you run a 100-mile race, 200-mile race, and you don't quit, the transformation that comes when you dare to build a business in a difficult industry and you make it through the low points and you make it out the other side, that transformation, that's what we came for.
That's what we came for.
That's my final thought.
All right, Mark. Good talk. Good seeing you. I'm not looking forward to when you tell me that 50K is that I got to try to go out and run fast, but you name the time, I'll be there.
Well, we won't be racing through the Grand Canyon together because we'll be with other people, but we should do the race soon. And wouldn't it be cool if we could get a coalition of other cool people that you can rally to the cause, and we can do it for some worthy cause and run a 50K together as an industry and help a bunch of people go through that transformation? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we could raise money for something housing related so that we can help good people do more good, not just in property management, but also to address homelessness or housing affordability or, whatever? Wouldn't that be cool?
All right, that would be cool. Let's circle back around to that after we see if we can keep 30 people alive from the north rim of the Grand Canyon to the south rim. If we can
All
do
right.
that, then we'll look at this.
Then we'll level up. All right, man.
All right, man. Good chatting.
Good chatting. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Property Management Success Podcast. We'll be back with another value-packed episode to help you level up your property management game. If you've got something valuable out of today's episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so you never miss out on future insights and strategies and tactics. Until next time, here's to your success.